Hey everybody, what is going on? I am Maximus Rex. Once again, this is Big Baby Reviews. Today is Thursday, so it is Rob Liefeld Day. We are looking at the New Mutants issue 87, dated March 1990. Very famous issue. First of all, yes, this is the second print, and I do know that it's pretty mangled down here, and I honestly don't care so much. It's a reader copy, and I'm happy just having that, to be honest. Why is there a big black thing here where the PC code, or whatever you call that, or usually when it would go to direct distribution comic shops and stuff, there would be like, you know, Spider-Man face or a Captain America or something. This one's black. I have no idea why. If anyone could illuminate me in the comments, go right ahead. So, very famous issue because it is officially the first introduction of this guy here, Cable, who is a Rob Liefeld creation, you know, that he did create for Marvel, but the editors and, you know, heads of Marvel at that time gave Rob Liefeld a pretty decent deal as far as, you know, residuals pertaining to that character. So toys and movie appearances and things like that, you know, could be corrected if I'm completely wrong on this, but it seems as though Rob Liefeld has reaped the benefits of his creations at Marvel more so than a lot of creators. And I don't think the kind of contract he had at that time for characters like, for example, Cable and Deadpool lasted for very long, or many other creators got that. I guess he was just very lucky, and good for him. You know, he created those characters. He should reap some of those benefits, which are probably still very small compared to what Marvel themselves are reaping with movies and residuals and toys and all this stuff, right? Anyway, I digress. Let's look at the cover. This is, again, Todd McFarlane inking Rob Liefeld. So I do think on this cover, it's where McFarlane starts to kind of take over a little bit more. You can see, you know, his ticks, his line work and stuff on top of the Rob Liefeld composition. But also I find that when McFarlane inks Rob Liefeld, he adds kind of that extra dimension that takes away a bit of the stiffness, and every volume feels a bit rounder and a little bit more organic, or slightly more realistic, I guess I would say. You know, I definitely think the pairing works well, and that McFarlane does improve Liefeld a little bit. And as the covers go, you'll see more and more of that, and I'll point that out. But this is the first cover where I start to feel the McFarlane way more than I did on, say, the cover of 86 or 85. But that's it for the cover. It introduces Cable. Here comes the man called Cable, and let's crack her open and see what's going on inside with the art. So, prepared to be a little bit disappointed, maybe. It's not the end of the world. It's still the Liefeld compositions and layouts. But we do still have Bob Wyasek inking here, and I don't think he's that great of a pairing. He does a decent job in not burying the Liefeld too much, but he does, I feel, try to clean it up a bit, and it doesn't necessarily work for me. The weird way he interprets the hatching here, you know, the line should be finer. He's using a very thick line that I don't think necessarily suits the art best, and we know it doesn't because we've seen what happens, you know, eventually when Rob Liefeld inks himself or has inkers at Image. I do think whether it was him or those inkers, it was still a better job than what was kind of going on here. But I mean, it works for the time, and it's helping to keep Rob a little bit more house style, I guess, is kind of the thinking at Marvel at that point. So we have the Mutant Liberation Front, is they're called. I mean, I didn't read this at the time, but this is basically just reminiscent of X-Force #1, or X-Force #1 is reminiscent of this. You know, it's kind of the same plot happening again. I could definitely recognize the Liefeld everywhere, but again, just what throws me off is the thickness of the line. It's not necessarily how Liefeld would interpret it, and not necessarily suited to his style, but that's what we get, at least for these first few issues. There's Thumbelina, if you know who she is. But I'll give Liefeld credit for storytelling still at this point. Still a lot of panels, still a lot going on, still a lot of work. Here he's kind of doing some interesting design stuff to get away with not drawing backgrounds, which is fine. That's okay. He's doing it here. You know, he's establishing something here. Doesn't have to do it on the whole page. I mean, this is a great Liefeld shot. I just feel like, you know, if it was inked by himself, like, did he ink that face maybe? The face looks very Liefeld compared to most of the other stuff. He's talked about that before. Like, I feel like maybe he's not here, but I think he may have inked the face there. I could be wrong. All right. So another establishing shot here. These are some Asgardians from still that storyline from the annual I've never read, but that Arthur Adams drew. So they're still pulling a lot from that storyline, it seems. So Liefeld is, you know, we know at this point, aping a little bit and some stuff from Arthur Adams anyways. So again, good on him for the storytelling, the backgrounds, lots of panels per page. You know, the writing, again, doesn't help that much. Just a lot of dialogue, still that, you know, 70s, 80s Marvel style. Chris Claremont kind of led that kind of wave of, you know, lots of dialogue. I don't have anything against this drawing. I think it looks pretty good, actually. But there's just something weird about not finishing the bottom of her face. Right? Is it just me? So Boom Boom always has, like, bitch face, basically. Like, that is, like... Imagine that's your girlfriend when you get home, you know? Like, all the time. No offense, ladies. You're not all like that. So Mystique here, very Rob Liefeldish. You know, this feels pretty close to Rob Liefeld if it's not being inked by him. Again, could it be that he started inking those faces already? Like, this would not be inked by Rob Liefeld. I can't imagine Rob Liefeld inking one of his own faces to look like this. And he was still drawing, forget this guy's name, Warlock, is that it? But he was still drawing him like he was, you know, he's not a fun character to draw, I'm imagining. Yeah, it looks fairly complicated. And takes time to just, you know, work out all the shapes. This is one shape he's taken, but he's constantly changing shapes, right? So, yeah. I guess that's why he got rid of him eventually. We'll see that. There we go. Now he's a boat and stuff. Oh, God, you got to draw that. Obviously, Liefeld is not writing his plots yet because I don't think he'd be writing that into the story. Like I said, I think it's in and around the time where he got to write his own plots that this guy disappeared. We'll see along the way. Pretty sure that's what happened. But again, kudos on the storytelling, man. We got some big, nice anchor images and splashes, but still enough insert panels and stuff to, you know, keep the storytelling clear and we understand what's going on. Is this the introduction of Strife? I'm not 100% sure, but if I'm not mistaken, Strife and Cable were introduced the same issue, this issue, so I might be wrong. So, some rather kind of slightly pedestrian pages here, kind of boring. Deadline is looming. These are kind of interesting, though. I don't see Rob Liefeld doing this kind of stuff ever. Not quite sure what's going on here, but interesting visuals. All right, Liefeld introducing some generic warrior soldier dudes. Simplest of designs, right? Like no costume details and no facial features, just kind of a ninja, a space for, you know, if you were to even draw the eyes. I do, though, enjoy, because I use these a lot too, these, call them movement lines, anime lines, manga lines, right? I love when he does that. I enjoy using those in my comics as well. It's just something I think helps to make, you know, add those extra dynamics in some of your images. And someone like Eric Larson uses that a lot as well, and to great effect. And you'll notice too that Cable's cybernetic arm and his whole costume really is going to change from issue to issue. It's one of the hallmarks of Rob Liefeld. Just, you know, we kind of, this is traditional Cable, if you will, but this costume goes away and other versions kind of pop up throughout his history. This is a great shot, though, right? Something weird a bit with the guns and how he's holding them. This one seems a bit short, and this one seems maybe too backwards, where his hand is maybe where, you know, the front of the gun is a bit off. But, I mean, you don't really pay attention to that. The shot is cool. Good anchor shot. And again, lots of, you know, panels. Starting to see that, you know, widescreen format instead of the grid, right? Starting to bust through, do some different layouts, push the layouts. And again, try some different stuff. rather than the 6 or the 9 panel grid that's been used traditionally for at least a good 30-40 years at this point, maybe 50-60. The vertical panel, you know, everyone ripped off from McFarlane, and I assume McFarlane discovered in, you know, manga and anime. Man, like, I mean, I guess really it's just drawing a cool ship with a weird cartoony head, so maybe it's not that bad, but yeah, I wouldn't want to draw this guy all the time. Changing into different things I don't want to draw. Especially if I'm not writing. Jeez. And then, yeah, these last few pages, it just seems like the art drops off a bit. You know, it's deadline time. Got to catch up. These pages are printed oddly as well. Some of these New Mutants issues, I've noticed this, and it'll happen in others I'll point it out, where, you know, like, I do feel like it should have been brought down a bit and centered a bit more spacing-wise. It's just very odd that there's very little space here and lots down here. Did that happen prior? Yeah, see that page. This one too, right? Was that error at the printers? Seems to start here, right? The mega space and then nothing here. Even seems to cut off stuff that shouldn't be. Yeah, definitely. Some sort of printer's error. I guess that affects all these last pages, yeah. Yeah. Odd printing error. And see, this book was probably put together pretty quickly. They didn't change much. If there were, you know, mistakes in the original printing, they probably left them in. This book was rushed to publication because this thing was selling like hotcakes once people started realizing this cool new character Cable first appeared in it, right? And of course, we'll know more about Cable next issue, right? Cable fights Freedom Force. So there you have it. New Mutants number 87, classic issue. Not really much to write home about in actual content, but hey, you know, it was memorable for a lot of different reasons. And this McFarlane ink and Liefeld is probably a big part of it as well. Do want to mention how much I like that cover once again. And, you know, McFarlane really defining the eyes here, which is something Rob Liefeld didn't do. So I feel maybe that's another thing that just helps elevate this cover and make it a classic. Everyone knows this one, right? Even I've swiped it in my comics. So there you go. That was it. Thank you for watching this episode. Hope you enjoy the content. If you do, please like and subscribe. Leave comments if you want any kind of answers to your questions. I'll try to hit those up as best as I can. And I hope you all have an awesome day.
Like, subscribe, like, subscribe.
King Comics presents Big Baby, Volume 1, Issues 1 to 13, 204 pages of story and art. King Comics also presents Star Crasher one-shot, 32 pages, cosmic sci-fi surrealist adventure. You can find these fine comics at KingComics.CA, at MaximusRex13 on Instagram, or on Facebook, MaxRex or Big Baby.